Maybe you miss a dose and your dick doesn't work. That's when you realize the mistake you've made. Seems like today, in this day and age, there are so many people just jumping on steroids. TRT, steroids, we used to call them back in the day. And everyone's got this jolly little reason why they're getting on it. I mean, obviously they work. I mean, like there's reasons, obvious and clear reasons why people do them. But what I mean by that is people have, they're always very quick to come up with some reason why they need it. And it seems like it's harder for people to find reasons not to take it. And my channel's never going to be about, starting drama or tapping into drama or gossip with other YouTubers. But this whole Hamza thing, this problem with him, lying to his fans or keeping it secret that he's actually been on gear and has been entering into fights and things with steroids in his system. It's probably a good time to talk about it. I'm a similar age to him, and it's a real issue, and it's really something that you shouldn't do, and I'm going to talk about why that is. There's a big promise with the performance-enhancing drugs and testosterone. It's very much a Faustian bargain, where you see the upside, and you're sold on the upside, and because it's like this little club that everyone's now in, you won't really see the downsides, at least on camera. But they're there, and there's a price. At the end of the day, this is a rule, this is a maxim, this is not a heuristic. There is no free meal, all right? You will be paying for what you do and the benefits that you get one way or another. All drugs on this planet, whether they are purely medicinal, like, when I say medicinal, like purely to solve some problem like antibiotics, whether they are recreational, your cocaine and weed, psychedelics, or performance-enhancing drugs. All drugs are short-term loans with high interest rates. And when you have a drug habit, that interest rate compounds. And there are some people that can be like the Warren Buffetts of drug use, like athletes, certain musicians, performers. These kinds of people can make the drug use work for them. These people are the few people that can use drugs and have it pay off for them, at least in some way, and at least in the way that we can see. Whether or not that loan that they've taken has been worth it over the course of a lifetime, I would tend to say not, and I don't want to live that life. I've chosen not to live that life as a result of that, and I don't think you would either. I don't think anyone wants to live that way if you really know the price. Most people, however, get used by drugs. They get used up. They do the drugs, they lose themselves to the spirit of whatever it is they're doing, and they get hollowed out. Performance-enhancing drugs, any of these drugs will hollow you out from the inside. You'll use up your necessary resources and substrates so that it's like burning the walls of your house to stay warm. Soon enough, you're going to be worse off and you won't be able to make it. So there's a price to pay. I'm going to talk about what that price is, because it's not the most obvious thing in the world, at least from what you're showing on media. I really hope that wind isn't too much. If it is, sorry. It'll stop blowing in a sec. But yeah, it's a Faustian bargain. You're going to be paying for it spiritually, physically, um, mentally, emotionally, financially. There are prices for these things. It's a law. For every reaction there is an equal or greater reaction. Is that the one? Or that no energy can be created from nothing. Matter can only be sort of transferred. Energy can only be transferred. God can create energy from nothing, but when it comes to substances, you're just borrowing that from your own future. You're not creating energy. You don't have more energy. It's a really simple, but yet it's so easily overlooked. You know, so you get temporary power with PEDs. It works. You get juiced up. You get strong. You feel confident. You become a better athlete. And for athletes, it's a bit of a different story. They are hyper specialized. Their glory is on the line. They've made that their life path. And when you have a life path that is so clear, maybe it's a different story whether or not you take a Faustian bargain. But for most people who just want enhanced vitality, they want a bit more confidence, a bit more muscle tone, they want a little bit more out of life, then that loan is not going to be worth it. The problem is a lot of people, we're just so wired to want more and just have such high levels of desire and expectation and less willingness to sacrifice so that, we take the easy way out. And that's really what it is. It's a hollow shortcut. The thing is, testosterone gives you a feeling as a man where that feeling is the feeling of essentially having higher status, having been a winner. But in nature, in the real world, that feeling would have come at a cost. You have to sacrifice something to get higher testosterone throughout anywhere in the animal kingdom. In fact, it's dangerous for an animal to have high testosterone and not be the beast that deserves it. That animal's going to go get itself killed. If you inject testosterone into the beta wolf and it doesn't have the experience of the alpha, but it has the courage of one, what's it going to do? It's going to go challenge the alpha and get itself killed. Or if it does become the alpha, it'll get everyone else killed. It's the problem with unearned wisdom, unearned power, unearned anything. There's these losers out there that are getting high amounts of testosterone injected into them that they haven't deserved, that they haven't earned and they don't deserve. With great power comes great responsibility, but with great responsibility comes great power. And these guys are getting the power without the responsibility. That's going to create fractures within them. All right. On one hand, you've got probably the guy who's maybe never had high amounts of testosterone, and he doesn't have any reason he should have high amounts of testosterone because he doesn't live in accordance with the laws that would govern that to endow him with high testosterone. So you get the loser basically that now feels like the winner without the trial. That's not a winner. That's an abomination. That man has turned himself into an abomination. And all abominations will eventually fall. Horribly so. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. Then you get the guy that also maybe is already like a winner. Like he probably had high. You get the guys that already have high testosterone before they get on it, and that's even more of a tragedy because you've got the guy that could have been everything and probably was quite a lot of a man, But now he's dependent. Now he's dependent on his masculinity from an external source. And when someone jumps on TRT, there's different kinds of steroids, for example, different levels of suppression, which is where it shuts down your own natural production. And there's about, on average, a 50% chance that you won't ever be able to produce your gonads, your nuts, your balls, your hardware will shrink, and that they will never be able to produce the right amount of testosterone ever again. Is that a risk you want to take? And the longer you do it for, obviously, the greater that is. If you were to be on test for years, I imagine that there's no chance of you ever coming back to a natural level of high testosterone. There are guys that can do it for different periods in their life and then come off it and, pay the price and keep going. But that's the insidious part about TRT. At least back in the day when it was mostly illegal and you had to go, guys would have to go get it from other guys in the gym. They would kind of cycle off it and, maximize that period of time in their life and then put it aside, deal with the post-cycle side effects, like maybe they get bitch tits. Their dick might not work. All of these kinds of things. They deal with it. They boot themselves back up. They pull themselves up by their bootstraps and keep going. And they use their willpower, and eventually their testosterone comes back online. But with TRT, they're just on that constant dose, year round, week in, week out. And now their masculinity comes from injection cycles and routines and a schedule, rather than their own natural fire. You see, testosterone isn't just some molecule like caffeine or something fleeting. Testosterone is very spiritual. Testosterone is connected to your ability and your will and your drive to provide as a man, your willingness to engage with life, and it gives you power because you've earned the responsibility to wield it. It's like God's gift to strong men to do what they need to do, to protect their family and to provide for their family, and even to be able to enjoy life a bit more. So it really is a gift, and when a man injects it, he's essentially stealing that gift. Being externally dependent on receiving your testosterone means that you're relying on a government to make sure the legislation is legal, your doctor to prescribe it to you, and then corporations who manufacture and produce it. And then everything else along the way that has to work out for that whole process to give you a little brown liquid that you inject into your ass. Now that's for what testosterone actually is and what it means and what you're risking by not having it. That is too fragile of a system, of a risk. That is too great of a risk to take by externalizing your literal sense of masculinity. Your masculine power comes from those external systems. That is not a trade-off I would make. That is not worth it. The only constant in life is change. And when these systems change, when legislation changes, maybe you miss a dose and your dick doesn't work, That's when you realize the mistake you've made. You don't want to let it get to that point before you realize it's too late and your testosterone won't naturally be produced again. I really feel like there's a great spiritual risk here in externalizing your masculinity. Because when that switch gets flicked off and turned off, what's left of you if you can't produce it on your own? How can you call yourself a sovereign man, a free man, a healthy man, if all of your vitality comes from outside of you? What's left of you without that? It's foolery. It's pride. It's vanity. It's everything but vital. Now, I do have some compassion in my heart for the men out there that are maybe a bit on the maturer, older side and have so much responsibility that they need to hold down, that they feel like they need that extra edge just to be able to hold down their life because there's no one coming up to take their place and everything relies on them. I'm not here to judge you, honestly. And I would implore you to find better options, and they are out there. But I'm not here to judge you. Most of you guys, though, are not that man. Yeah, we've all got things to hold down in our life, but nothing that actually requires you to do steroids for. Not when there are so many natural ways that you can improve your testosterone. Not when there's a pathway to actually being able to do it really yourself and naturally. There are so many things you can do, from changing the environmental factors, getting enough sleep, eating some more cholesterol from natural healthy animal fats and proteins, training with enough intensity and then recovering with enough rest. All of these things are here naturally already. You don't need to hijack this process. And the difference between a guy who's on hundreds of milligrams of test a week and the guy who's doing everything right naturally, in terms of the vitality, there's not much difference. In terms of a lot of the lifestyle qualities, there's not much difference. Yeah, maybe if you're looking at total muscle mass, or these narrow specializations of athletic ability that you need these drugs for to go to the extremes, then yeah, but that's a different life path. That's not most people. And the guys that take that life path are compromising so much already. So, to each their own. But there's so much you can do. There's natural herbs out there that will increase luteinizing hormone, that will increase the testosterone of production, that will reduce your stress, that will give you this feelings of manliness, of confidence, of willingness to engage in the struggles of life. There is so much out there you can do. You can balance your hormones with, first of all, working within the natural systems of life. You can mineralize your body, make sure you're getting enough nutrients everywhere. All the answers are already there. It's kind of simple. It might seem complicated at first because there are so many things threatening our well-being and vitality. And a lot of that comes across as attacking our hormones. So at first it might seem actually quite daunting and complicated to go through all of these things. I've done that. I've been there. I've obsessed about it for a while and got to learn what affects it and the simple changes you can make. It's usually letting go of dumb shit, really, like spraying artificial fragrances on things. Like that's dumb shit. Artificial fragrances across the board. Nuke your test. It's so unnecessary. Oh, but I need it to smell like roses. I want to smell like roses. What if I smell yucky? What if people don't like me because I smell yucky? Let me tell you something. You're already yucky if you got that kind of attitude. Who cares if people like you because of your smell? If you're healthy somewhat and shower every now and again, you'll be right. I'm gonna like a bit of musk on you anyway. It's totally unnecessary to do steroids. There are so many ways out there that you can be the man, earn it the right way, earn something that nobody can take away from you. The feeling of waking up, knowing that you are who you are and no one can change that. That you don't need to wait for your next dose to feel good again. That your dick works. You know, you can go out and engage in life. And engaging in life, win or lose, will increase your testosterone. It'll make you more of a man. It'll make you smarter, wiser, stronger. And that's what life is it not? Do it the real way, man. Like, just go and do it the real way and you naturally get it. It comes along. It's just totally unnecessary to hijack that shortcut. Fuck the government, man. I don't want to rely on them to determine whether or not I have my masculinity. In fact, I think it's a whole psyop. I think it's a psyop to get as many men as possible on TRT so that they can choose who gets to feel good or not, who they can turn on and off. It's another form of control. I'm not buying into that. You can't control me. I'm not going to sign up for your little trap, your little bait trap. I don't need your juice. I got my own. It's given to me by God. And I made it myself. You want it? Come get it. Make it yourself. Don't fall for these traps, man. Don't hyper obsess over it either. Like, men had testosterone before they even knew what testosterone was, before we had a word for it. You don't need to know how digestion works in order to digest your food. Only things you need to know are the things that are created against it and the weapons that stand against you so that you can step around them. But every now and again, you know, you just need an attitude of, this isn't going to kill me. A lot of testosterone's just in the mind. I think a lot of testosterone follows on from how you think about the world and how you think and how you engage with it. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation there. But you can absolutely do things that will increase your testosterone and give you a greater sense of vitality and courage as a man. You can absolutely do things that will help you. And I can help you with that. I've done the hard yards, the stressful figuring out and hyper-focusing on all the things that are tanking my testosterone. I can help you do an environmental audit in your life. Cut out the things that are doing you harm. Change some of your habits and behaviors to really boost your vitality and your testosterone. And source some good quality herbs that are also going to help with that. I can do that. I can help you with that. But you don't need me to do that. You can just go out and engage with life yourself. Maybe you want the help. Maybe you don't. But I think you're a fool if you go and get it from a doctor or a guy at the gym or anywhere outside of your own balls. Real masculinity is integrity. It doesn't come from a vial. It doesn't come from outside of you. It's who you are. And it's something nobody can take away from you. You can't inject it. There's no prescription, no vial, no needle, no syringe. Only by the grace of God and the will and fire in your heart and what's in your balls when you show up to the trials of life. There you go, mate. Do with that what you will.